In this video I'm going to be putting some shifter bushings in and playing about with suspension for the fourth time. So these are the shifter bushings that I will be swapping in. They're not mentioned that they're for a Honda Beat, but they are for other Hondas, like Civics. And some of the other Beat owners have fitted these and spoke very highly of them. Okay, so you can see the existing shifter bushings in there. They have like a zinc plated washer on top, and then some sort of rubber bushing underneath that. There's 4 of them. These are 12mm bolts. I think there's another part still stuck in there. Oh. Okay, I think that might be actually underneath this plate. This plate here. So I might need to get underneath to pull that second part out. That'll be interesting. Now these ones here have got the shifter linkage in the way, so you can't get a clear socket on there. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that, or how much give is in this. Okay, I'm going to stop filming. This is going to be fiddly. Well, I knew it was going to be a pain. I did it using this tool that I didn't even know I had, which is a socket which you can use with one of these to then stick on a regular spanner or whatever, or a regular ratchet wrench. So it's just more compact. This last one, however, I don't know how I'm going to get. Okay, I managed to get that tool on again, so I just wanted to show it to you before I start screwing it out. It's very, very tight against this bar. Okay, that's free now. Okay, all 4 are now out, and now I can show you how it works. So this is what's on the top, and then this is what's underneath this plate, which comes up through the plate, and this metal sleeve goes into this cavity here, and it all cinches together. So there's obviously a bit of play there, probably for NVH or whatever. What it's going to be replaced by is just 3 parts. So this goes on the top, sits in flush on this, and this comes in from the bottom side, and this screws into the actual monocoque itself. So there is a hole in the plate, I don't know if you can see that, and this has the same diameter, kind of a lip to fit in on both sides of that. Those 4 lower washers are now in. They were an absolute pain. I dropped one of them down the side here, went down to the trans tunnel, so I had to take apart some of the dash, but anyway, onwards. So there they are now, cozy in their little home. I hope I never have to do this job again. Well, it's all done and back together. The gear changer is always excellent on the Beat, but now I describe it as extra snickety. Lovely. Yes, I'm at it again. So after the last round of changes I did to the BC Racing coilovers and put on even softer springs, it got me thinking. If dampers are the limiting factor in that whole setup, what about the stock damper and spring? Could anything be done here to give me the kind of ride I want? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off the stock spring and just check, is this damper even functioning? It's likely the original one. I cleaned it up at one stage, but it's, you know, over 30 years old now. I don't even know if it has any rebound on it left. that might be giving me a sensation of a really soft ride, but it's because they're not actually functioning, or it might be because this whole spring setup and damper and everything is designed for comfort over sportiness. My thinking is that if the damper is okay, I can get an uprighted spring. I know the damper will be fine then, and it's just about getting the right spring rates to match with all this. So to take off the spring, I've got my spring compressors on here just to tighten them up a little bit. There is an Allen key at the top and a 17mm bolt here. So hopefully this doesn't fly all over the garage. Let's find out. So there is resistance going in both directions in compression and in rebound. So they seem to be okay. There's no oil leaking out of the seal here, so no evidence that there's any issues with them. One common thing you see on YouTube videos is people talking about how when you compress them like this, and that they don't rebound back out again, that there is an issue. That's not true. That only applies to gas shocks, which have a mix of oil and also a gas in here as well, which pushes that piston back out. For oil shocks or for hydraulic shocks, there's different names for them, they won't do that. As long as there's resistance going in both directions, you're all good. If there's no resistance and you can just push it in with one finger, well then you know your shock is bad. So I think I'm going to continue with this and try and source some springs to fit to these stock dampers and see how that goes. So the replacement springs have been sourced. They are a brand called RSR. Make springs for lots of different types of cars. They claim to lower the beat by around 15 to 20 mil. So it's probably going to raise the ride height of the beat up a little bit because it's obviously on the lower BC racing coilovers at the moment. So let's talk spring rates. Back to our board. This is probably going to be extremely boring for people who are not interested in this, so you can skip ahead. The stock springs that we have here have a spring rate of 1.9 kilos on the front and 2 on the rear. Just for reference, Mugen did an uprated spring and damper which had a front spring rate of 2.1 and a rear of 2.9. The BCs come as standard with 4 and 6, which I found really firm. So the first setup I tried was to change the springs to 3 and 4. Then the second setup I tried was to bring it all the way down to 2 and 3, which is a huge drop. It's half the spring rate of what they're supplied with initially. And as I mentioned in the last video, the damper is the limiting factor there, and although it's better than the springs that they're supplied with, it's still not perfect, or still not exactly what I'm looking for. Great for track use. I'm looking for primarily a road car. So I went hunting for lowering springs and there were lots of different options. I found at least 5 different suppliers, all of them in Japan, nothing available locally. And I tried to find basically the lowest spring rate I could, which was these RSRs. So they have got a spring rate of 2.6 and 3. So it will actually be firmer than the BC Racing ones that's on at the moment. But as I say, I think the limiting factor is primarily the damper at this point. So it'll be going from the stock 1.9 to 2.6 and at the rear 2 to 3. So it should be a good bit firmer than stock, and you know you'd expect that because the stock ones are incredibly soft. So hopefully this will be the compromise that I'm looking for. That's it, fully assembled. 3 more to go and then I'll stick them on the car. New suspension is on and it is settled down now. It's sitting Tiny bit higher than it was on the BC Racing coilovers to the height that I'd set them at, but it's definitely quite a bit lower than stock. So I'm happy with that. I'm not looking for the extra low look. It's about drivability and fun. So I've taken it out for a spin already with this suspension on it, and it is absolutely perfect for what I wanted. Almost close to stock levels of ride comfort, but a bit more body control, less lean in the corners. I took it down the bumpiest roads around my area, and it's absolutely perfect at soaking up those undulations in the road. It's also much more comfortable going over speed bumps and everyday day-to-day driving. So couldn't be happier. This means that I have a load of excess BC Racing parts now. So I would say get in touch if you're interested in them, but I do have a few friends here in Ireland that own Beats, and I just reached out to a few of them to see if they were interested, and 2 separate people wanted to buy them immediately, so they're not going to be hanging around. They're hopefully going to be gone this week, so I'm pretty happy about that. So these 2 mods are really the day-to-day driving enjoyment for me. Suspension is obviously key to that, but also those shifter bushings would really help with getting the most from that gearbox. So hopefully this is helpful for Beat owners. Go RSR, go Acuity, do it. You won't regret it.